Good evening, everyone. Apologies, folks. Thank you once again for joining us on our Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. I think we're good for sound. You have the thumbs up there. So this evening's live video is in response to the last 48 hours. We're just going to focus on the last 48 hours in the Central Criminal Court of Justice in Dublin. Obviously, there's an ongoing case there. And as I've said before, we would dearly love to report daily on it, but we are afraid that it will be construed in a way and used against us, the Bradys, to restrict our access to the judicial system. But as the headlines of our podcast tonight suggest, we were right. And as I say, in the last 48 hours, a number of witnesses who give evidence in relation to what they've seen. These are just normal, everyday people giving their evidence as to what they've seen in the area of Burnside, in and around the time the Passat, allegedly using the board more than robbery at Lordship Credit Union, was allegedly burned at a certain time down near Newton Hamilton and Cady in County Armagh. I think it's important that we just give these little updates because a lot of people are asking, how did we miss this previously? How was this not confirmed during the course of Aaron's trial? And I think we've made it very clear on a number of occasions. Our initial solicitor's firm had told us halfway through Aaron's trial that they weren't an investigative solicitor and they weren't going to investigate. And our legal team at this moment in time are just putting straightforward, very basic questions to all the witnesses. The witnesses are giving the details, and the details are as we have portrayed in all the videos that are in the links below. So in relation to the Burnside, anyone, the public, please go and have a look at any of the links below, and we can confirm now, I think on 99% of what we've put on the videos was confirmed in the courts once again. And indeed, some of the information has been solidified, cemented, and when the witnesses were probed and questioned correctly, they give even more finer detail that proves once again that the evidence was manipulated, curated, and it was formed to create a narrative that simply does not exist. And I'd also like to say one of the main reasons we've decided to put a video out this evening is obviously we have two men in court in relation to the death of Garda Adrian Donoghue at Lordship Credit Union, and this case is obviously ongoing. And I think you, the Irish public, would expect members of the mainstream media to be in attendance and to report to you, the Irish public, these young men, your other peers, and you should be, I think, entitled to some form of journalistic reporting. And I do believe over the past 10 days, not one journalist has attended the court. I think the last journalist I mentioned was Paul Nealon, who is he's just a court reporter. As far as I know, he's not really aligned to any of the major ragtops or any of the major news podcast social media sites. So if you just think about that for a second, one of the most serious crimes in our recent history, and indeed one of the most serious crimes in the history of our Irish state. And our journalists have decided not to attend. And there's very vital information given today. as I say, we've done it before in relation to Aaron's trial, and I'm not going to go into any detail because I don't want to, but I don't want to cause any issues or problems for ourselves going forward. But everything that is in all those videos below, and indeed there are more in our archives, all that information is correct. And we have a situation now where the journalists who are watching this, who have been notified this is on, the journalists who have watched all the videos on the CCTV footage, the times and all the details surrounding the burn site, you, the journalists, would have been affirmed there today that everything in the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign, everything we have said is correct. The times and the details. And the sketchiness of the behaviour of how the evidence has been portrayed and given to the courts, both in Aaron's trial and indeed over the last 48 hours and indeed over the last few weeks. But obviously we're looking into all those details. And when the time is right, we will, excuse me. And so when the time is right, we will bring all those details to you, the Irish public, because our mainstream media see fit to leave you, the Irish public, in the dark. So that's where we stand over the last 48 hours. And as I said, there was some very, very good information brought forward and detailed over the last 4 weeks, a little bit every day. And hopefully we will be able to bring all that information to you when the time is right. Now, I also said that I was going to answer a question from a campaign follower, and it's from Wilfred Wild. And his question was, exactly what evidence secured a murder conviction? Can somebody please clarify? Well, Wilfred, we've asked the exact same question over the last 4 or 5 years, but to give you a very brief synopsis of Aaron was convicted on evidence here in Ireland in relation to a vehicle that was stolen in Clowerhead that was allegedly used in a murder robbery on the Friday the 25th of January 2013. And on the other hand, we had evidence from America where Aaron allegedly admitted to murdering Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue in certain forms. We have shown clearly, Wilfred, that the strands and the threads of evidence are manipulated. This is the evidence here in Ireland, are manipulated. Times are farcical, times are incorrect, times are possible. The CCTV footage is pitiful, and all that hopefully will be scrutinised in the not too distant future. The evidence in America was brought forward, and even our esteemed friends in the mainstream media would agree that without the evidence and testimony from these people in America claiming that Aaron had said certain things to them, but I shot the cop, have you got what it takes to kill someone, I shot the guard. And we have shown through our videos, and hopefully if you have a look through those, Wilfred, that these were criminals that on Garda Síochána and Homeland Security were dealing with. People that were held in high esteem by Senior Investigating Officer Pat Murray, people who were held in high esteem as good citizens by Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel for the prosecution. And when we've brought it forward during the course of Aaron's trial, that these people had criminal records here, serious criminal records here in Ireland. They were illegal immigrants in America. And we had someone like Daniel Cahill, who was an illegal immigrant, was caught with drugs on the day of his arrest on the 19th of July 2019. And he had serious issues. This gentleman was stabbed 4 or 5 times in Dublin before he left Dublin. So obviously he had no great desire to return to the city of his birth. And these were all levers that was used to force lies from these criminals, to tell lies against our son Aaron. So that's sort of a very brief rundown of how this murder conviction happened. We did have a serious issue, and when we tied this together with the poor quality of our legal team at the beginning, not bringing all this evidence forward that is now being scrutinised and questioned, and indeed a lot more to come. So if we tie that in, that Aaron's senior defence team didn't have the correct information given to them in relation to the events that happened here in Ireland. And even at that, the prosecution themselves said that they'd only little threads and strands, it was circumstantial, it was inference. And we have shown through our videos, Wilfred, that the evidence is, to say the very least, suspect. In nearly 90% of the cases, there is no evidence to suggest that Aaron Brady had anything to do with the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And obviously, we have the glaring issue with the man who shot Detective Gavin Adrian Dunn, who was 6'1", possibly 6'2". This is corroborated by a senior guard and by CCTV footage and a senior credit union worker. So we know the gunman is 6'1" or 2". Aaron Brady is 5'7", and we've highlighted that on a number of occasions. So Wilfred, thank you again for interacting. If there's any more information, you want more details, more specifics on any specific part of the investigation of the Aaron's trial, please feel free to send your questions in or your comments in. So that's it for this evening. Just want to confirm that everything we have told you in relation to the burn site, where the vehicle allegedly used in the murder and robbery was allegedly burned sometime around 10 p.m. on the 25th of January 2013. Our version of those events are correct and were cemented over this last 48 hours by testimony under oath in the courts here in Ireland. So once again, thank you to everyone for all your comments. Thank you for to all those who are subscribing. Please continue to subscribe. Please continue to like, comment and share. Again, we are having issues. I believe in the last live I done, a number of people have contacted us. We had issues with sound and the video dropping in and out. So we do have gremlins.
Do you have a message?
Have a message. Kevin says a message. I'm not the 2 men on trial for the robbery of the Lordship Credit Union, also guilty of the murder. Yes, well, this is a legal aspect of it. Thank you, Sean, for your question. This is a legal aspect that we're not totally au fait with or don't really understand. Again, it's something I've covered before. All the men in the white shirts, Garda commissioners, assistant commissioners, superintendents, detective inspectors, politicians have come forward and said that all those involved were coming knocking at your door. I believe was it Christy Mangan, Superintendent Christy Mangan. A lot of these people have retired since just couldn't see out the finish of the case in respect of the murder of their colleague. They didn't see fit to hang on and finish the job they started for some reason. But obviously that's entirely their decision and their belief in their own capabilities. So at this moment in time, the two men, as you've seen in the mainstream media and from what we know, are being charged and tried with robbery at Lordship Credit Union in association with a number of creeper burglaries. So they're taking a number of creeper burglaries and lumping it all together and jumping from the creeper burglaries into the theft of the car in Bassat, the Bassat in Clogherhead, which was allegedly used in the murder and robbery. The reasoning for it, we don't know. I'm not going to speculate. It's a question us our mainstream media haven't asked. Now, maybe they have asked behind closed doors, and once again, they have been told to shut up and not print anything. that the Irish public are not entitled to this information. So it's maybe something that happens in the future, whatever, if they desire to do so. But again, they're not being charged with the murder at Lordship Credit Union, and again, we're 2 gang members short, which is absolutely ludicrous. 10 years on, 10 years and 1 month. Yeah, 10 years and 1 month now on Friday, and we're still gang members short. And if you look at our archive, you'll see clearly that there is no gang either linked to Aaron Brady, or indeed I can say to these 2 men that are in court at the moment. They can't make up the 5. Simply aren't there. The gang is fictional. The people and the persons who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue are walking free as we speak. That's the bottom line to all this. There's a lot of families obviously involved in this whole scenario. A lot of lives have been destroyed. And if justice isn't done, if justice isn't seen to be done correctly, that torture and pain will continue surely into the future. But we are very hopeful. We are very hopeful that we will be able to shine some light through the court judicial system now into exactly, shall I say, what didn't happen at Lordship Credit Union. The story portrayed by Garda Adrian Donoghue's colleagues is a false narrative. Again, as we talk about this and we bring it forward, if we go back to what Pat Marry, Senior Investigating Officer Pat Marry, said in his podcast, he told us that Fort Apache, as he endearingly calls the Garda Barracks in Dundalk, Fort Apache was in disarray at the end of 2016. So we're nearly 4 years after the Northern robbery, and they had nothing, not a thing. White faces. He sat around the table at the incident room, and all that was looking at him was white faces. And this is all relevant to what's happening in the court over the last 48 hours. They took information and manipulated it and curated a completely false narrative, created impossibilities. And because of how the first trial was conducted, and because of our lack of knowledge and allowing things to happen, obviously that won't happen this time. If we see something, we're able to voice our concerns and ask questions. All we want is the whole story. That's all we've ever said. And this is why we're asking you, the public, to subscribe, like, comment and share. I will repeat once again, we're not asking you, if you like, comment and share, you're not giving the definitive guilty or not guilty verdict here. All we're asking you to do is hit like, comment, share, subscribe to see the whole story and ask to see all the details as we go forward over the next number of months and moving into Aaron's appeal in October, if that happens. So Sean, thank you for the question. Thank you all for your comments, and hopefully we'll have maybe a little further update as we go along. And these updates in relation to what's happening in our judicial system over the next coming weeks, we will be able to relate that directly into Aaron's campaign and information we have dealt with previously. So once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I do believe someone told me Love Island is on, so I presume people will be watching us on catch up. So, but please like, comment and share. Thank you once again, and we'll see you again at the end of the week for another catch up what's happening in the court in relation to Aaron's trial and Aaron's investigation. Thank you.